Alright guys, hope everyone's having a good day so far. This is the review video for you here, where I'm going to show you everything you need to know before the test. So pay attention and let's go along here. So first things first, we're going to talk about the aggregate demand, aggregate supply curve, okay, or graph I mean. So we got our aggregate demand, aggregate supply. We should all know how to draw this in long run equilibrium. Alright, got long run aggregate supply, aggregate demand. Okay, we should know how to draw this in a recessionary gap. And we should know how to draw this in an inflationary gap. Okay, now the reason why this is a recession, alright, is because our actual real GDP is below our potential real GDP. The reason why this is an inflation, alright, is because our actual real GDP is above potential. Alright. Now, let me erase this real quick. Okay, now, the next thing we're going to talk about here are the shifts for each curve. Alright, so for aggregate demand, the reason why the things that will cause a shift, first of all, is if there's a change in expectations. Alright, basically, how people feel about the economy, how it's doing. If they think it's doing well, aggregate demand will increase. If they think it's not going to be doing well, aggregate demand will decrease. The next thing is going to be a change in wealth. Now, wealth is different than wages. A change in wealth is like, I'm worth more. All right, and if people are worth more, they'll spend more. If they're worth less, they'll spend less. So think like, in that terms. All right. Next is going to be a change in stock of physical capital. All right, basically what that is, that's inventories right there. Okay. All right, so if those change, then that'll change. And then lastly, government policies. All right, which is fiscal. That's what we're going to focus on in this unit here. Monetary. All right, we are not going to worry about this unit. That will come next. Another way to think about this, guys, aggregate demand. That is basically, think the GDP formula, which if you don't remember, which everyone should, was consumer spending plus investment spending plus government spending plus exports minus imports. Okay, so if we have an increase in imports, that has a negative impact on GDP and will cause aggregate demand to flip. But let's see. Stock of physical capital, that's investment spending right there. Government, obviously, fiscal policy, government spending, wealth, and everything else, that's consumer, but also could lead to, globally, right? If we're making and exporting stuff, then that leads to exports and imports as well. So just be thinking about that from that perspective. If you remember the GDP formula, think if anything impacts that, anything within that, then that's probably going to be an aggregate demand shift, right? So next up, we are going to take a look at what causes shifts in the aggregate curve. All right, and those things are going to be as follows. So change in commodity prices. You also might see that written out as inputs. All right, basically it's anything that gets turned into something else. So those things get more expensive, then aggregate supply is going to shift left. Those things get less expensive, aggregate supply is going to shift right. Again, be thinking about it from the perspective of a business owner. A change in wages. This threw some people off when we were taking our quizzes today. Again, from the business perspective, if wages goes down, they can hire more people and make more stuff. If they go up, they have to lay people off. All right. Next is productivity. All right. If there's a change in productivity, then that's going to let's say if productivity increases, then aggregate supply will increase. If it decreases, aggregate supply will decrease. And lastly, a change in inflationary expectations. All right, if they expect inflation to go up, then aggregate supply will shift left, and the opposite is true. All right. So take a look at that, review it. Remember, you're thinking to yourself as you're taking this test, how is this going to impact aggregate demand and aggregates? Is this an aggregate demand aggregate supply shift? Is it an increase or a decrease? And then you're going to shift it. Okay, next up we are going to talk about fiscal policy specifically and how that impacts aggregate demand. All right, so expansionary fiscal policy. All right, remember that should be used during recession. All right, the things that of expansionary fiscal policy, that's going to be an increase in government spending. It's supposed to be an arrow pointing upwards, so that's going to be a decrease in taxes and an increase in government transfers. Alright, and basically the hope here is that this leads to an increase in spending, lowering taxes, increase people's spending, increasing transfers, increases spending. So you're thinking about, okay, what happens? How does this impact overall spending in the economy? And then that's what's going to change aggregate demand. Now, contractionary policy is going to be a little bit different. All right, it's basically going to be the opposite. So again, this should be, if that should be used during a recession, then this should be used during inflationary periods. All right, so it's going to be literally the exact opposite. So we're going to decrease government spending. We're going to increase taxes. And we are going to decrease government transfers. All right, and again, the hope there is to pull money out of the economy to reduce the inflation rate. All right. Now, expansionary fiscal policy will shift aggregate demand to the right, and the opposite is true for contractionary. This will shift aggregate demand to the left. Alright. Alright, and lastly, for this review session, we're going to talk about the spending and the tax transfer multiplier. So first with the spending multiplier. Remember that formula is 1 over 1 minus MPC, all right, or 1 over MPS. All right, and we take that number and we multiply, all right, by the change in spending. Okay, so if, for example, if MPC is equal to 0.75, all right, and I want you to try and work this out with me, okay? So if MPC is 0.75, then and the government increases spending by $200 billion. All right, we're going to use that to figure out the total change in real GDP. Okay, so go ahead and pause it right now, and then we will solve it together. So pause it. Okay, thank you for pausing it. And if you didn't, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. All right, so we've got 1 over 1 minus 0.75. Okay, and so that's 1 over 0.25, which equals 4. We take 4, and remember, we multiply it times that change in spending right there. And so we get a total change of $800 billion in real GDP. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, you can come talk to me, shoot me an email, and I'll try and explain that a little bit further. All right. So next we are going to do pause it and write that down if you need to, because I'm going to erase it all right now. Next we're going to do the tax transfer multiplier. Remember, that formula is different than the spending multiplier because some part of the tax cuts are going to be saved, right? Because people are going to get that income, and they're going to, so they don't have as large of an impact as the spending multiplier does. All right, so the tax transfer multiplier. All right, remember that formula is slightly different. It is MPC over 1 minus MPC, or MPC over MPS. All right, so let's have that same exact, use those same exact numbers as the last problem. So if MPC is equal to 0.75, all right, and government, rather than increase in spending, let's say government cuts taxes by $200 billion. All right, that got a little messy there, but you know what that means. Okay, so what is the total change in real GDP? Well, pause it, try and work it out. All right, welcome back. If you didn't pause it, again, don't know what you're doing with your life. Just trying to help you out here. All right, so in this, for this problem, we would set this up a little bit differently. We would do 0.75 over 0.25, right? MPC over MPS. That would give us 3. 3 times this 200 billion right there. All right, and we are going to get a total change of real GDP of $600 billion. All right. Before, remember, if you look back on your work, it was $800 billion. So cutting taxes does have a positive impact on the economy, right? Still increases by a total of $600 billion, but it does not have as large of an impact as if the government increases spending. All right. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Shoot me an email, come into class early. I can try and talk to you and help you out a little bit. Be able to apply this in multiple different scenarios. So if I give you the MPC and the total change, you should be able to figure out how much they should spend by. If you see that there's a recessionary gap of $600 billion, right, you should be able to figure out how much they should cut taxes or increase spending by to close that recessionary gap. So just be able to apply it in lots of different scenarios. All right, and if any of that confused you just now, again, shoot me an email. Let me know. We'll get it corrected for you. All right? Well, hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.